Husband refused to have a relationship with his bio daughter after learning how she was conceived, but then she suddenly showed up at his office making demands. My husband, 42M, and I, 36F, have a very solid relationship. We have been together for about 13 years, have no children, but are very active on my nephew's 4M, Mark life. For some background, my husband has a child, 16F, Laura, with whom only my Mill and to some degree Phil have a relationship with from his nuclear family, the reason being she was conceived when her mom poked holes to the condoms. It was a whole drama about it, and my Mill begging my husband to have a relationship with Laura, but he simply couldn't. He even had to get psychiatric help in order to be able to cope with it. The mom admitted she did it so he would stay with her due to responsibility, but it did not work. He pays child support because the law mandates it, but nothing more. I didn't hear about this news from my husband, but from my Mill, and she emphasized that she liked me a lot, and hoped I would be a good enough person and procure a relationship between my husband and Laura. I was flabbergasted, and asked my now husband about it because my Mill made it seem so different than the truth. He explained he was going to tell me before we moved in together, and to be fair, he kind of had already gave me little infos here and there, and explained the whole situation and even told me I could go to therapy with him and see the psych info if I wanted, but things were not like my Mill said. His sister confirmed this as well, and explained this issue was the reason she was not as close to her parents anymore. Things went okey-ish for some time, and even the wedding went without issues. We all have several boundaries and Mill more or less respects them, although she still have constant communication with Laura and her mom. We have several cycles of very LC with her. But things went to overdrive once my Sil got pregnant with Mark. Mill started telling everybody it was not her first grandchild, and all that cryptic stuff. My husband was so uncomfortable about it. She pushed for Laura to be involved in birthday parties, christening, etc., but we all said no. She also invited both of them to her birthday party a couple times and we simply did not attend. Now the new issue is that Laura has been so sad for not having the bio dad in her life. My husband said no and left immediately. I stayed while grabbing our stuff since I had brought food and told her it was not going to happen. According to my Mill, Laura just wants to know my husband since he is her real dad, and despite being okay with her stepdad, it's not the same. She said she will give her our address and contact info because she is desperate for a connection. I told her I would call the police on all of them. I said my Sil will be very upset with her when she hears of this, and to not be surprised to get less access to Mark. Mill called my husband cruel and me a bad person for encouraging his cruelty towards an innocent child. I told her I understand Laura is innocent, but she most likely would not be asking the same if it was a woman who conceived in the same circumstances. Edit, the condom did not break, and he was very into safe sex. She assured him she was on the pill, but he wanted to be safer by using condoms. Yes, she admitted to poking holes when he asked her if she would consider an abortion, and if not, if they could co-parent because he really didn't want a relationship anymore. She admitted to it. Mill knows all of this. She is not in jail because Mill begged my husband to not report it, and he just wanted it all over. My Phil is like Switzerland now. At the beginning he was up in arms until my Sil asked him if he would feel the same if it happened to her. Mill is on thin ice with Sil since she introduced Mark to Laura on a zoo outing without consulting Sil first. Mill is not allowed alone time with Mark anymore. He has to pay child support until Laura is 18 or done with education in the country we live. He already made sure to make a will leaving her the minimum allowed by law since you can't disinherit children in the country, but you can leave them the least amount. Mill is very distraught at this since he had me and Mark as main beneficiaries. Husband does not want to meet Laura, give her a letter, etc. I am not going to make him do that. I do believe my Mill is pushing harder since Mark was born because my husband is amazing with him. We even took him on a trip recently and we are very loving towards him. We also spend a bunch on him because we own our place, but it's all in my name for obvious reasons. I don't know if Laura knows, but I would never tell her because it is not my place, and despite everything, I think it is horrible to learn and worse from someone you don't even know. Update. I want to thank everybody that took the time to reply, even if it was against us. You gave us the push we needed to clear the situation. I am sorry this is long. I showed my husband the post, and after spending a long time reading the comments he decided enough was enough. Yesterday morning he texted my Sil and Mill telling them he would like to meet and have this over with. Mill said we could do it in the afternoon and that Laura was coming too. We all said okay. My Sil and Bill met us at the door because they didn't want to go in before us. It was really tense since the beginning. Laura tried to hug everybody, but we asked her to please not. Then she tried to hug my husband and he was slightly less polite and asked her to not touch him. My Mill was very cheerful somehow, and my Phil was just offering everybody drinks and snacks. He was like living in his own reality. We sat down, and after what felt like the longest 5 silent minutes of my life, my husband turned to Laura and asked her if she could please leave him alone. Laura responded that he was her dad and she will need his support when she goes to uni, since she was planning to move to our city and it was very expensive and hard to find a place. She said she knew he owned his own place, and that he clearly has money to spare, so she was wondering if he would help her out. My husband said no, that he was already paying child support and will stop as soon as the law allows him to. She was upset but somehow kept going. She turned to me and said that at the end of the day, what as my husband's will go to her, since Mill explained the inheritance laws to her, and she wanted to be in good terms with me for when we need to decide what to do with the house, etc. I just told her not to worry because the house is on my name only and there is already a will covering it all. Mill knew about the will but not the house situation. Laura was a bit taken aback and looked at my Mill like asking for help. She said that even if there is no future money, she thought my husband was unfair to her, and that she used to think he simply didn't want to be a dad, but he is amazing with Mark and we even take him on trips. Basil asked her point blank if she knew how she was conceived, and she does. Laura knows everything and says that while it was not the nicest way, her mom wanted her so badly that made it happen. She said Sil should understand because she has her cousin and she would love a relationship with him. My Sil was seething and Bill told Laura he will literally call the cops if she tries to get near Mark. She started crying, saying that she wanted her family to love her and be as awesome as everybody is with Mark, and that it is not her fault, and her mom is not a bad person, she just wanted a family and my husband denied them that. My husband said that it was the lying and the deception that costed the relationship, not him. That if there was an honest mistake, things would have been different. He told her he will never be her dad and she needs therapy. He said that she could get a job instead of expecting him to pay for her life in the long term, and that he is not willing to have contact after today. Mill started begging both her kids not to go and maybe do family therapy. They both said they are going NC with her, and FIL is on thin ice. Mill is blocked everywhere. I guess this is it. NC with Mill from all of us. Sil and husband seem actually pretty happy with the decision. We had dinner together and the topic was dropped after a couple minutes, and we focused on other stuff. I am sorry there is no Disney ending, but this is for the best, and I still support my husband's mental health above all. Edit. I think I would like to play a little devil's advocate regarding the money. When Mark was born, we started being very active in his life. We have yearly passes to the zoo, get him nice things, pick him up from daycare twice per week, got him to Disneyland Paris, etc. I believe my Mill was showing her pictures, and that is why it came out like this. Or at least it is my assumption of it. Her mom is not poor by any means, but she does have 2 other kids. Our city is very popular for student life, which makes it that much expensive. My husband and I are not interested in having or not children on our own. We simply are ambivalent about the issue. I know it might have made Mill even more eager to have a relationship with Laura. We were giving her pocket money for some time, but we have decided to stop that as well, and let her figure things out with her pension alone. I don't think we will have anything else to update in this case other than if Laura or Mill come around Mark, but I highly doubt this will happen. As much as we don't want a relationship with any of them, these are a teenager and a pensioner, not criminal masterminds. Update. I want to start by saying thank you again to the encouraging messages and an F to the ones calling us all monsters. We are humans and flawed as every single one of the rest. I thought the issue was over and dropped, but it seems it is now. We had some weeks of bliss and chaos afterwards. We are all still recovering from it. Now to what happened to explode our life again, and please keep in mind it brings me no joy. My nephew Mark turned 5 weeks after my last update. After so many messages from my Mill and Phil, my Sil decided to let them attend but told Mill she was not to bother me or my husband. My Mill didn't approach us once but kept staring at us, and we decided to ignore her. The issue was that I kept holding my pumped stomach and my husband kept being goofy about it. I am not pregnant. I have several intolerances to delicious yummy things that make me bloated, but I misbehave and eat sometimes. My Mill does not know about most of them since they are age developed, and we used to go yo-yo with LC with her, so I guess she assumed I was pregnant. The week after Mark's birthday party is when everything went to hell. Laura came to my husband's office and made a scene. She was screaming at him how she couldn't believe he was starting over without taking care of his first child, and many other insults and stuff. She was throwing office supplies and crying and making a whole deal, so the office manager called the police and an ambulance. She also called me. By the time I arrived, my husband was having a panic attack in his office, and totally sure he was fired. I told him to not worry and I will sort it. I explained everything to everybody from coworkers, to police, to EMTs. Laura was taken in for evaluation, and the coworkers took a long lunch, so my husband could leave without having the awkward walkout. I took my husband home shaking, and as he was panicking and crying, he said he felt unsafe. I took him to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist was able to calm it, and we also had a session together days later where he opened up more about what the mom did to him. This has been very expensive, but worth it for sure. Laura was not really in trouble since the office manager agreed to let it go for an apology and payment. The mom, Laura's, was not having it. The moment she saw my husband at the station, she went ballistic, and my husband couldn't handle it, and he had another panic attack. This woman is a FC King doctor but does not care for it. ATG the end, she paid the fine and restitution to the office and took Laura home. As a little background, I would like to share something I recently discovered about my husband's relationship with Laura's mom. Whatever I thought, it was way worse. Will not go into details, but during therapy it came out she even threatened him once with a knife. It has been really hard to keep it together, lattlety, but explains a lot of my husband's reactions here. My Sil was so done with my Mill after it, she told her dad he either divorce her or she is cutting him too. It is still a 50-50 since Sil is literally FIL's favorite person, but he has been married to Mill for like 44 years. My Bill took my husband camping and they had fun and kept him distracted. He has been mainly on sick leave since the incident. He is a manager, so he would come one day a week and then get the rest of the week covered so he can recover. This was suggested by his bosses. Hey, all feel like they should have protected their employees better. My Sil husband Bill and I had a disagreement due to Laura's expenses. I suggested to just get her a block payment and requesting she should get therapy, but all of them say she should get nothing. I said I would be willing to pay for it, but after the new revelations on my husband's relationship with the mom, my Sil is even more up on arms against helping them more than we should. I do feel bad for Laura, I do. And I know the rest, husband, Sil, Bill, used to a little. Now there is no way in heaven to make them help her. The last nice thing my husband did was convincing his bosses to not charge Laura and paying for the monitors she broke. Since his leave, my husband spends a lot of his afternoons with Mark, my Sil and Bill, and leading the charge on getting Laura to accept a bulk payment and therapy but don't want her in their life. Mill and Phil and estranged so far, and my husband goes to therapy once a week and slowly recovering. And before it starts, yes, we know Laura is a victim of her mom, but does it give her a right to re-traumatize my husband? I still stand with my husband and probably will be called the worst of the worst, but some advice was very good the first few times, so that's why I came back. This will be the last update on the situation my family has had going. I again thank you for all your messages, positive or negative, but just want to mention one last thing, and it's as bad and awful some comments were, the chats were worse. I have a thick skin, but if you are going to say such horrible things, have the courage to do it in public. To those helping out and taking the time to have a dialogue, I thank you so much. Since everything happened with Laura at the office, my husband decided to request home office for himself and any other person wanting it on his team. This ended with most of the company going into it, and a very big bump on their salaries since they stopped renting the building. This meant the child support payments had to be recalculated, since my husband's bump was significant for several reasons. This also made the negotiations about the lump sum I proposed were cut. My husband might have to pay support until Laura is out of university, but we are okay with that. As of now, we have a savings account we both contribute to, but with only my name on it. After all the drama at my husband's office, I received a message from Laura's stepfather. I have never ever met the man in real life before this, but I knew I had to reply to that message. Long story short, he has been trying to officially adopt Laura for about 10 years, but has always been told by her mom or even my Mill that my husband refused. He was also told that Laura has some relationship with my husband, and even stayed with us sometimes, but we wanted to keep things separated. I honestly don't know if he is gullible or simply was trying to make us feel bad. The conversation ended with him promising to get Laura and her mom into therapy, and that was at the end of July. My Phil dies in September. It was a very sudden stroke and shocked us all. His children organized a lovely funeral, and it was the last time we all saw Mill and Laura. Laura stayed most of the time on my MIL side but eventually approached my husband and Sil. She was respectful and even apologized for the incident at the office. She totally ignored me, but I was good with that. She has not tried to contact my husband or Sil since. We have all officially gone NC with Mill, since her stances have not changed at all. The whole family knows the situation, but nobody wants to get into the middle of it because they don't want to deal with MIL's tantrums. The reason this will be my last update is I'm about 4 months pregnant and we are over the moon about it. I know many of you will have awful things to say at the comments, but for those supportive, know this has actually been great news to my husband, and he is overjoyed with it. We are going to focus on our family and continue to heal as a unit, which of course includes Sil, Bill, and nephew. My nephew's only question was if the baby was allowed to go to the zoo with him since he wants to show it the monkeys. It was adorable and has been telling all his friends in kindergarten about it. I feel this is going to be a healing experience for all of us. My husband has started opening up more about what happened and why he has reacted to all this situation this way, not only with me or family but with friends as well. They knew parts but not the whole picture. This might enrage many, but sharing his story has made him thrive and took a lot of stigma-related guilt he had. I hope Laura and Mill can heal eventually as well, but we need to focus on this new chapter of our lives and can't get sucked into the drama. I wish you all well.